What kind of
Let's go.
Don't fall asleep.
Hello and welcome to Horror Court Trash River, the show that discusses all of the masterpieces and trash pieces of genre cinema. I'm Gary.
And I'm Chris.
And 5 Weeks at Freddy's is back for another week.
Yes, our Halloween October special, where we go through the Nightmare on Elm Street sequels post Freddy's Revenge.
Yes, and this week we have, in my opinion, something that's up there with one of the with the most underrated horror sequels of all time.
Okay, yeah, I agree.
This doesn't get the love that it deserves from people. This is the first Nightmare on Elm Street film that I watched in full without covering my eyes. And it's the film that made me fall in love with the franchise. It's also the quintessential MTV horror film.
Absolutely, and the quintessential Nightmare on Elm Street sequel. I think this incorporates everything that the Nightmare on Elm Street sequels were known for.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this is the one that does it the best.
Yeah, it is.
Not saying it's the best sequel,
no.
But you understand what I mean.
Yeah. It is A Nightmare on Elm Street 4, The Dream Master, released in 1988. Or as it was known in Japan, A Nightmare on Elm Street 4, The Last Counterattack.
Oh. Okay. I quite got the same ring to it.
No, it's not quite Freddy Free Claws of whatever it was. Claws of the Nightmare.
Yeah.
1988, the first year where all three of the then top horror franchises, Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th, and Halloween, all released new films in the same year.
Oh.
Of course, we had Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers, and we also had Friday the 13th, Part 7, The New Blood, which we'll be discussing this coming Friday.
Ooh.
All these...
Do you know which one won at the box office?
All of them were number one at the box office, but Dream Master was the highest grossing horror film.
I did think
that year.
Yeah.
I mean, also the same year as Hellbound, Hellraiser 2, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
You know, it's a big year for horror sequels.
Yeah, it's not a bad year either, actually.
I mean, this is, you know, we're currently in a big year for horror sequels. Evil Dead Rise, Scream 6.
Yeah.
Exorcist Believer.
I knew that was coming.
The Nun 2.
More on that on Friday. I'm sure.
Friday, we're going to talk about the Friday the 13th episode.
Oh, yeah. I'm getting my end of months.
That's original versus remake. Go wait to the end of the month.
Wow.
So Dream Master is directed by Rennie Harlin, who directed Driven, the Dyatlov Pass Incident, Cliffhanger, Cutthroat Island, Die Hard 2, The Covenant, as in the homoerotic Covenant film from the 2000s, Deep Blue Sea, Exorcist: The Beginning, The Long Kiss Goodnight, and more. He got this job in an interesting way. He basically just refused to take no for an answer.
Essentially.
Rather than accept the rejection, he showed up at New Line cinema offices on a daily basis, repeatedly requesting to speak with Bob Shea. For a variety of reasons, they didn't like any of the other directors who came in for meetings about the film, and Harlan was always around, so his persistence paid off, and he was so clearly impoverished that his clothes never seemed to change day to day. It started to smell, so they had to hire him so he could afford some new clothes.
Yes, and so that he could get his really great start in Hollywood and get some nice new clothes and stop smelling. I bet they paid him a great deal.
I'm sure they did, yeah. Bob Shea never liked him. He rarely spoke to him throughout the shoot, even though he would visit the set quite often, which made his cameo scene a little difficult. The resulting tension meant Harlan lived each day on set like it would be his last, because he was fairly positive Shea was going to fire him at any moment without warning.
Yeah, throughout these episodes, I'm assuming, because I have brain cells, Bob Shea's not going to come across very well.
No.
I feel every time we've ever mentioned him, in regards to the Nightmare on Elm Street films. It's been him dissing something or sticking his nose in when it's not needed or taking a dislike to someone and maybe not being the most professional about his opinions and such. So yeah.
Rennie Harlin's original version of the film was considered to be too campy and ridiculous by New Line Cinema, which is why some cuts were made on the film before theatrical release. The original cut had an alternative score, and many deleted and extended scenes, including more scenes with Kristen, including a nightmare scene in which she's chased by Freddy soon after he killed Joey and Kincaid, an extended version of the beach scene where Freddy's shadow is touching and burning her with sunburns. Small parts of these scenes can be seen in trailers for the film, and there are also some still showing the extended beach scene. There was also an additional nightmare scene with Alice dreaming that her father turns into Freddy. It is believed by fans who first discovered these missing scenes that Harlan's original version is lost. Only the original script has all the deleted scenes.
That's a shame. That is a shame. It sounds a little cartoonish.
Yeah.
The scenes that are missing.
But also, too camp and ridiculous. I mean, this is probably the campest film in the franchise.
Yes. Probably not the most ridiculous.
No.
But probably the campest.
Yeah.
Let's discuss the elephant in the room, which is this is the film, in my opinion, that changed Freddy Krueger as a film character.
Yeah.
Now he'd had his wisecracks. He was one of the only ones that really spoke of the horror sort of franchise villains. He was the only one that spoke at great length.
Yeah.
And this is the film where he becomes the pun master.
Yes.
Rather than the dream master. The master of puns. The clown.
Yeah.
And Rennie Harlin himself said he kind of wanted Freddy Krueger to be the hero.
Yeah.
The round of applause for the great death scenes for these throwaway teenagers.
Yeah, he did say in an interview, I said this is the fourth movie of the franchise. We can't really pretend that the audience doesn't really know what's going on. We can't just make it scary and expect the audience to buy into it. It's so much a part of pop culture already, so we have to twist it. Let's make Freddy the James Bond of horror. He had to be bigger than life, kind of like a hero, even though he's the bad guy. We had to introduce humour and wink at the audience like, we know you know, so let's go and have fun. That was the biggest thing Bob Shea was worried about. Now you look at the film and think, why didn't everyone realise it was going to work? They didn't. I wasn't so sure either. At that point, this was New Line's big franchise. Bob Shea never spoke to me during the whole making of the film. He'd just be on set and look really angry and frustrated in the background. I was scared. I felt like I was pretending I knew what I was doing, although I knew what I was doing. Still, I thought one of these days they'll say, he's just a kid from Finland, what does he know? We went there to the first test screenings, very nervous with our hearts beating out of our chests. At that screening, when the audience started applauding, screaming and laughing, Bob Shea looked at me and was like, oh my God, I think you were right, and we got a standing ovation. Because this is what people... Well, it's equal parts what people hated, but also what people wanted. You know, Freddy Krueger became a household name because of this film, because of Dream Warriors. You know, the two combined, you get in merchandise aimed at kids and everything.
It's a weird one to look back on now. All the kids' merchandise based on Freddy Krueger, the child molester, and killer.
Yeah.
It is weird I don't know if you get that now. I mean, I don't think we're getting Toni Collette Hereditary pajamas for kids, are we?
No, I mean, I was surprised in the UK to see the Batman merchandise in kids, like in the Entertainer and kids stores, given that it was a 15, so kids couldn't even go and see it.
Yeah.
But that's nothing. That's just one small thing that could easily be explained away as they'll just think it's any old Batman stuff. You know, when you look back at around this time, you had RoboCop figures.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, Alien, Terminator. You know, I had Terminator and RoboCop action figures when I was younger.
And it's not to say that the kids aren't watching these films. I watched 15s before I was meant to. I watched 18s before I was meant to. according to the BBFC or the
Yeah.
MPAA. I watched films earlier than I was, should have. What confuses me is the idea that the studios actively wanted an audience too young to watch these films,
Yeah.
and therefore made all this merchandise,
Yeah.
like Freddy Krueger next to He-Man in the Toys R Us. Okay, I mean, that's great now for big geeks like us who love collecting shit. That's wonderful. It's just a bit strange.
It's very strange.
Yeah.
Rennie Harlin based this film on a Chinese ghost story from 1987 and created all the nightmares himself based on dreams he had throughout his life. But it almost wasn't Rennie Harlin doing this film. In fact, Dutch director Dick Maas, the genius behind Amsterdam and Lift, was offered to helm the project, but he had to decline due to scheduling conflicts with Amsterdam.
Oh, wow. Oh, so that was before Amsterdam.
Yeah.
I think he would have done a good job.
Oh, yeah.
I think Rennie Harlin does a good job.
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. But can you imagine Dick Maas with how weird his films are? It probably would have been twice as camp.
I think so.
Yeah. It's written by William Kotzwinkle, who did Book of Love and the story for the Fat Boys Are You Ready for Freddy music video.
Oh.
So, Fat Boys Are You Ready for Freddy?
Yes.
That or Dream Warriors by Doak.
I would have to go with Dream Warriors.
Yeah.
Even though I do love a bit of Fat Boys with Freddy.
This is
Freddy.
Another sign of how far the pop culture side of things went. Robert Englund raps on this song. He's in the music video. The samples from the other film, so you got Heather Langenkamp on the track as well.
What would
slaps?
It does go off. But what were the Fat Boys famous for?
I don't know.
I feel like they did a random version of a Beach Boys song.
Yeah.
And sort of...
Didn't they do something with Chubby Checker?
Oh, or was it Chubby Checker?
Yeah, I think it was Chubby Checker.
Oh, yeah. It may have been.
That's the only other thing I know him for. But, of course, it wasn't just the Fat Boys Are You Ready for Freddy? Robert Englund went on to do an entire rap album.
He did.
We own it on vinyl. And
thankfully, I'm pleased to say we do.
Again, it slaps. But how ridiculous. Like, this is kind of like... I mean, you think of modern horror icons. Like, imagine Bonnie Aarons going on to do a fucking metal album or something as the Nun.
The Nun.
Imagine, Bill Skarsgård as Pennywise doing a fucking album.
I suppose the most comparable would be is it Art the Clown?
Yeah.
From Terrifier.
Uh-huh.
Although I could kind of see that. Him doing a...
He doesn't talk, though.
Does he not?
No.
I don't remember much of that film. And I haven't seen the second one.
Megan could do a full album.
Well, Megan did sing.
Yeah, technically, yeah.
Megan did. Okay, maybe we're talking ourselves into it being okay, and yeah, maybe.
I've no problem with it. I think it's high camp, and I encourage modern horror icons to do it. I'd love to see it. Brian Helgeland also co-wrote this. Man on Fire, Legend, A Knight's Tale, Finest Kind, Robin Hood, Highway to Hell, 2 episodes for the Friday the 13th TV series. Also Oscar winner for LA Confidential and Oscar nominee for Mystic River.
Ooh.
And many other projects he's worked on. I mean, amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's 2 weeks in a row now I've had Oscar winners from these films, or Oscar nominees.
Everyone's got to start somewhere.
And also co-written by Jim and Ken Wheat, who did The Silent Scream, Ewoks, The Battle for Endor, The Fly 2, the Jeff Goldblum Fly 2, The Birds 2, Land's End, It Came From Outer Space 2, The Stepford Husbands, and many more, including Pitch Black, the Vin Diesel film.
They seem obsessed with sequels.
They do. Do you think this film got them the sequels?
Maybe.
I think they all came after this.
The Wheat brothers.
Yeah.
Yeah? I mean, I want to watch every single one of them,
Including The Birds 2 Land's End.
Including The Birds 2 Land's End, definitely.
So Helgeland, the Oscar winner, was hired to write this film after being recommended by Robert Englund, for whom he penned the screenplay to 976 Evil, which was Robert Englund's directorial debut. The film had a release date set, but no script or director, and Helgeland was hired under the condition that he could deliver the script within 7 days. He was advised by New Line Cinema head, our favourite Bob Shea, that if the script came in a day late, they didn't want it. Helgeland then flew home to Massachusetts for Christmas and wrote the script sitting at his father's kitchen table. He FedExed the finished screenplay back to Los Angeles and made his deadline. Based on his script, Rennie Harlin signed on, and the film marks Helgeland's first screen credit. Though 976 Evil was his first produced screenplay, it was released after this.
But and then he doesn't get a credit seemingly, but from what we've seen, Rennie Harlin.
Yeah, it's strange that he's not even uncredited on like IMDb and Letterboxd, because he did a fair bit.
Yeah.
Based on the characters created by Wes Craven, who turned down the offer to direct and rewrite the script. He and Bruce Wagner came up with a concept for the film that involved time travel through dreams. But Bob Shea and Sarah Risher felt this was too high concept for a Nightmare on Elm Street sequel, and didn't think it fit the formula that Craven created with the first film. Note, this is 2 films before Freddy's Dead, which makes time travel look simplistic.
Yeah.
And not all that ridiculous. In fact, there's a bit of time travel in the fucking film.
There is, yes.
Yeah. Technically, there's a bit of time travel in this film as well. Depending on how you look at it.
Okay.
Alice Older in the Diner. This is made on a budget of $13 million and becoming the highest grossing film in the franchise, not counting Freddy vs. Jason. It earned $49.3 million worldwide.
And I think that's a testament to the film itself, but also a testament to Dream Warriors.
Yeah, definitely.
Because now, these days, you kind of find 100 people's opinions on a film before you get the chance to watch it.
Yeah.
But back in the day, you would go by maybe a few reviews.
Yeah.
But you would go and see a film based on if you think you're going to enjoy it or not.
Yeah.
And with Dream Warriors being such a huge success, people gone and seen Dream Master.
Yeah.
Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, it's not... It's based off, you know, if you... And it's... Yeah. I understand what I'm talking about.
No, you're absolutely right with what you're saying. Yeah, it's a lot of word of mouth. Whereas nowadays, it is word of mouth, but the word of mouth is a lot easier to find.
And I'm assuming Dream Warriors was also popular on VHS as well.
Oh, God, yeah.
So,
yeah, no,
you know, people going and wanting to see the next chapter in the franchise.
Yeah. The success of this film convinced producers to create Freddy's Nightmares, the TV series, as well.
Okay, yeah.
Should we talk about who's in The Dream Master?
Yes, in a section we like to call Hey, I Know You.
First up, we have Lisa Wilcox as Alice Johnson.
MILF.
Well, funny you say that, because she is the recent star of MILF Manor, a reality show in which a bunch of MILFs go into a manor with their kids.
Yeah? And it's a dating show.
I honestly wish I could tell you it's less weird than it sounds, but no, it's fucking weird.
It is. It's a strange one. We unfortunately haven't been able to watch it in its entirety.
We've seen the
only
clips,
seen clips.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm living for it. Lisa Wilcox looked beautiful in 1988, and she looks beautiful in 2023.
She does. She is, of course, the star of Nightmare on Elm Street 5, spoiler alert, Star Trek The Next Generation, Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventures, with an S, the TV series, Murder, She Wrote, Boy Meets World, Men Seeking Women, and more.
I think we're definitely getting into the portion of the Nightmare on Elm Street films where everyone was in an episode of Murder, She Wrote.
There is another Murder, She Wrote coming up.
Of course.
Next up, we have Robert Englund, and I'm going to do a quick fire for Robert Englund because that'll help encourage you to go back and listen to the other episode that we did last week if you haven't already.
Yes.
Yes, of course. Urban Legends, Stranger Things, Nightmare on Elm Street, the rest of the franchise, The Mangler, Hatchet, and more. He plays Freddy Krueger in this and Nurse without makeup.
He does. He certainly does.
Yeah, this is the first one in the franchise where he receives top billing in the opening credits. Fully deserved.
Yeah, you can tell that Robert Englund is having a great time.
Yeah, this is his favourite film in the series, and the time loop sequence of Alice and Dan trying to save Debbie is often quoted by him as his favourite sequence in the whole series. Yeah, he's having a blast. And it really makes it more enjoyable when you can tell.
Yeah, I'm assuming the check he received for his work on this film also led to him having a blast.
Yeah.
You know, with top billing, they realise you're not replaceable.
Yeah. And he should be top billing because you've got no Heather Langenkamp anymore. You know, Patricia Arquette's not back. And, you know, your two Dream Warrior side characters aren't going to be top billing. So it's got to be Robert Englund.
The question is, what are you going for?
Yeah.
This film was going for, this is the Freddy Krueger show. This is what everybody is coming to see.
Yeah.
Freddy Krueger kill some dumb teenagers. So he would get top billing.
Yeah.
That wasn't true back in the day. You know, you watch A Nightmare on Elm Street to see Heather Langenkamp overcome the horrible child molester and murderer.
Yeah.
That's what you see.
It is strange though, isn't it, how many horror franchises always put their villains last when it comes to the credits. I've never understood why that's a thing, but yeah.
But we keep going back to this reference, but I suppose it's the best one for a modern day perspective. Bonnie, did she get top billing in The Nun too?
No, she didn't. No, the big names got the top billing in The Nun too. Storm Reed and Vera Farmiga.
Do you know if Bonnie is up there with them in terms of familiarity now?
Probably. Do you know what? Probably not.
No,
probably not. Which is a damn shame because she's, she has made that character of her own. And regardless of the quality of the film, she always shows up and does a great job. And I don't think it would have been as spooky when she shows up as it. I don't think it would be that good if it was someone else.
Yeah, I think you get to that point where someone is not easily replaceable.
Yeah, I think this is why she's making a stand now as well, trying to, get the rights for her likeness and get some money for it. Which is, again, very well deserved.
Yeah, because you get the type of characters like Michael Myers and Jason Voorhees. They're under a mask, and it's kind of they can be interchangeable. The people playing that role, yeah. Whereas with A Nightmare on Elm Street and The Nun, the actor is so synonymous with that, that it just doesn't work. Yeah, and we've talked about the remake before on the podcast. Go back if you haven't listened to that episode. And Jackie Earle Haley could not do it.
No. Could
not do what Robert Englund did.
No.
So I think maybe part 3, but especially Dream Master, it solidified that Robert Englund is Freddy Krueger. Absolutely. And the film lives or dies based on him.
Yeah.
The rest is interchangeable, as we find out.
Yeah.
But Robert Englund cannot be changed.
No.
In that role.
No. Tuesday Night plays Kristen Parker. Yes, a character that was once played by Patricia Arquette.
Interchangeable, as I said.
Yeah. No one knows why she didn't come back.
No.
A few theories included her agent asking too much money for being pregnant, her being pregnant at the time, and her already committed to Far North. Arquette commented on the issue in 2017 and said, "They asked me to come back for Elm Street 4, but at the time I was starting to break into kind of meatier roles. I had just done a movie of the week about teen pregnancy called High School and Pregnant, and I was really liking getting deeper with my work. I love the horror genre and the Freddy franchise, but I was chomping at the bit to try other things as an actor. Meteor Rolls, High School and Pregnant.
Hey. Yeah, I mean, do they? So, I just feel like there's so many teen pregnancy TV movies out there,
yeah,
starring teen actresses that went on to really big things.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, well, no, I suppose
Kirsten Dunst one.
Kirsten Dunst one. Oh no, I apologize. My camp film knowledge isn't quite what it used to be. Linda Blair played a teenage alcoholic.
Oh,
not
of course she did.
A teenage
Yeah. I
mother.
mean,
I do apologize.
Same thing. It's treated like the same thing.
I think there's so many of these films, but no, she was an alcoholic. I do apologize.
But yes, Patricia Arquette is not back. Tuesday Night plays the role, and she is the star of The Fury of the Leisure Class, Mistress, 2000 Malibu Road, The X-Files, Attack of the Radioactive Zombies, The Amityville Moon,
Oh,
The Fan, the one from 1996 with Wesley Snipes, and more, including she also provided the soundtrack for this film with one song called Nightmare, which is an absolute banger, and she's recently been asking people on her Instagram to stream it for Halloween and get it up the charts.
Absolutely. I think it's, I will tell you when I think about it when it comes to
This
the film.
is, no, same.
Can I ask a question? Sorry. Why is Tuesday Night credited as herself in Sex and the City 2?
Is she?
When was she in Sex and the City 2? Why am I seeing this?
I mean, to be fair, I am trying to blank that film from my memory.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. I don't know what to say about that one. I don't remember her being in it.
But when we inevitably do it for the podcast, we'll pick her out.
Yes.
Brooke Feast.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say it. Rumors are rumors, and I wasn't sure what to say this, but we're the Horror Cult Treasure podcast, and we love spilling the tea. Other cast members in this film suggest that her prominence was the result of a relationship with director Rennie Harlan, which led to the other cast members receiving less attention from Harlan, something they both deny.
Okay, a little bit of gossip.
That might, Patricia Arquette's put the rumours to bed now about, all these different theories as to why she doesn't come back, but if she didn't, that would have been top of my list.
Oh, who?
What?
Who was in a relationship with the
Tuesday Night?
Oh, I thought you were talking about Brooke Feast.
No, I'm about to get to her. I'm going back. I'm saying.
Oh, my apologies.
Bit of trivia.
I did wonder why Debbie lasted longer than she probably needed to. But I see.
Because she's a queen.
But we should have. No, I don't think so. I'd say she was more prominent because she's Kristen.
No, I mean her getting the role.
Oh, okay. You're really spilling the tea. Okay.
But, don't sue me. It's just a theory. But Patricia Arquette spoke out, so it can't be true.
No.
Brooke Feast plays...
Wait. Oh, my God. Okay. This has taken a while to... in my head. And this is all... what's the word I'm looking for so we don't get sued? Apparently. Allegedly, thank you. Alleged. This is all alleged. So, are you saying that the rumor is that Patricia Arquette
No.
didn't
That's my
get
rumor.
the role?
That's my rumor. I started it.
Okay.
And I've ended it as well because Patricia Arquette spoke out and said why she didn't return.
Okay.
But I'm saying that apparently Tuesday Night and Rennie Harlan were banging.
Mm-hmm.
Allegedly.
Beautiful young lady.
Yeah. Not such a beautiful young man.
Well, I mean...
Everyone's got a type.
He looks like a big, strong...
She was into metalheads.
Yeah, metalhead. Yeah, really. That's what he looked like.
Big Viking metalhead.
He's like loads of people's types. Oh, no. I think you're wrong there.
Well, Brooke Feast is in this as Debbie Stevens. Now, if anyone remembers...
No one remembers.
Debbie Stevens was a contestant on The X Factor.
Yes, here in the UK.
Who
X Factor.
showed up, great attitude, confident girl, sang a bit of When You Believe by
Mariah Carey, Whitney Houston. From the soundtrack to the Prince of Egypt.
Did a great job. Louis Walsh refused to call her Debbie, insisted on calling her Deborah.
Yeah.
Told her she was shit, and she threw a glass of water over him.
Yeah. Yeah. So
whenever we chuckle or make
Debbie Stevens.
really obscure references that you don't get, it's a Debbie Stevens reference.
Debbie Stevens.
I can't believe I've watched this film 1,000 fucking times and I've never noticed that her name is Debbie Stevens.
Just YouTube Debbie Stevens X Factor, I'm sure.
She was in Just the 10 of Us, Catwoman, Beverly Hills 90210, Do-Over, Quicksand, Clueless, a TV series, Menendez, A Killing in Beverly Hills, The Golden Palace, and more.
Ooh. Yeah, so Just the 10 of Us starred Heather Langenkamp.
Yeah.
I think they were sisters in that.
Yes. Andrus Jones plays Rick Johnson. He was in The Demolitionist, Voodoo, Horror in the Attic, Sorority Babes in the Slime Ballerama, Good Morning Miss Bliss. Do you know what that is?
That is the
Saved by the Bell.
Saved by the Bell one that came before, yeah.
Yeah. Every Breath.
I'm struggling with my words today.
Every Breath and more, including the video game Night Trap.
Ooh. Oh, wow. That's cool. That is actually really cool. I've never played. Have you? Did you?
No, I'd love to.
Yeah.
No. He later said he had some issues with the rest of the cast after shooting had completed and hinted at a possible conflict with Rennie Harlan.
Oh. Probably made him have his hair like
Duh.
I'd be fuming too.
Nicholas Maley plays Dennis Johnson. He is in I Am Sam, The Goodbye Girl, Mummy Dearest, Seinfeld, Sinatra Club, Jimmy Zip, The Last Days of Frankie the Fly, Fast Getaway 2, and more.
Yeah. What character in the film?
Alice and Rick's dad.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was slated to die in this film.
As he should.
In a cut scene where Kruger forces his head through a fridge door. The scene was cut for time constraints, and he returns in the next film.
Yes, unfortunately.
And finally, she has to get a mention. I'm not sure if we've ever done a Hey, I Know You for her before.
Oh?
We may have done. I feel like Silent Night Deadly Night is before we started doing Hey, I Know You.
Okay.
Linnea Quigley plays a soul in Freddy's chest. She is in Return of the Living Dead, Night of the Demons, coming later this month on the podcast.
Oh.
Silent Night, Deadly Night, Graduation Day, Tourist Trap, Savage Streets, Sorority Babes in the Slime Ballerama, Creepazoids, Hollywood Chainsaw Hookers, and countless more.
Yeah.
Queen. She is just here to get her tits out, and she fucking owns it, and I was slayed.
Yeah, absolutely. Somebody else in a similar vein as Pin-Up Girl, we have Hope Marie Carlton.
Yes.
And she was in Ghoulies 3, Slumber Party Massacre 3, Hard Ticket to Hawaii, former podcast film, Slaughterhouse Rock, Picasso Trigger, Savage Beach, and How I Got Into College, plus others.
As much as you want to forget about it, Slumber Party Massacre 3 was also a previous podcast film.
Oh, and it was.
Yes, it was. This year.
That's a real shame.
Yeah. Did you say she was in Slaughterhouse Rock?
Slaughterhouse
the film
Rock.
that absolutely we turned off because it was just a scene-for-scene rip-off of Nightmare on Elm Street.
Oh, yes, it was. Yeah. Oh, God, we did turn it off,
fucking
didn't
boring as well. Somehow made it boring.
Mm.
Shall we talk about our feature presentation?
Absolutely.
How long has it been since you've been on Elm Street?
Don't let them put you to sleep.
Welcome to a brand new nightmare.
Now no one sleeps.
I knew you'd be back.
A Nightmare on Elm Street, Part 4. The Dream Master.
How sweet. Fresh meat.
Rated R. Starts Friday at theaters everywhere.
We get a title card saying when Deep sleep falleth on men, fear came upon me, and trembling, which made all my bones to shake. Job 4, 13-14. And as we see this, quote, Nightmare by Tuesday Night plays.
We mentioned it previously, but certified bop.
This banger, certified banger, I'll have you know, 10 out of 10, could not be beaten, original, nothing like it, makes me throw up, pass out, whatever Lady Gaga says.
I mean, it's top tier.
Oh my god.
It's definitely top tier, but don't you think a banger's more energetic?
This is energetic.
No, it's like, I mean, it's not a ballad. I don't know what it is. It's...
Would you pole dance to it or would you jump up and down to it?
I would pole dance to it.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
But
is this about
if it came on in the club,
street?
if it came on in the club,
you'd slow dance.
Oh my god. Yeah.
Oh no, you would do like an interpretive Wuthering Heights dance, wouldn't you?
Could you imagine
like
it on Drag
Attack
Race?
on a one-way street.
Can you imagine if this is a lip sync on Drag Race?
I would kill it.
Oh my god. Yeah. This is so, you know, Rennie Harlin wanted to make this film, the film that solidifies Freddy Krueger as James Bond. There is a poster of him in the gun barrel.
Yes.
Which is a poster I chose on Letterboxd. Love it.
Oh, is that allowed now?
Yeah.
After they sued the bitch.
Oh, did they really?
They sued the bitch.
I could not find that trivia anywhere.
Really, unless I'm misremembering,
it doesn't surprise me.
Quad poster with that on is a really rare sought after poster because they fucking sued New Line Cinema.
That makes sense.
Yes.
Tuesday. I'm gonna sing Tuesday by Tuesday or Nightmare by Tuesday Night. That's also massively James Bond of the film.
Oh, I suppose, yeah.
To have its own theme song like that,
I'm
very surprised they didn't do the whole, you know, musical sequence with the opening credits. I'm very surprised.
Totally James Bond.
Yeah, I love it. It's the best James Bond theme that's not in a James Bond film. And this isn't long after Friday the 13th Part 6 as well, where we had the Jason walking down the gun barrel for the intro.
Yeah.
You know, this is, weird pop culture crossovers.
I'm surprised they didn't get sued.
Yeah.
Wow.
In 1988, a year after the events of the previous film, Kristen, Kincaid, and Joey have been released from Western Hills and are back to their lives as normal teenagers with their families. However,
that's nice.
Kristen believes Freddy Krueger will come back because the last one made a shit ton of money.
Yeah.
Kristen dreams of a little girl drawing Nancy's house with Freddy in it before she ends up back at the house. She goes inside with the one-hit wonders, the Jump Rope Girls, performing their one song. And when she... it is their only song.
Yeah, it's a little remix this time.
That's true. They've got a boy in this time in the group as well.
Have they?
Yeah, been inclusive.
Like Boney M.
Yeah, no. If you want to go and perform Creepy Nursery, you've got to take your brother.
Yeah.
She starts dreaming that she's in Freddy's old boiler room, so she summons Joey and Kincaid for a Dream Warriors reunion in the boiler room.
Oh.
Except Rodney Eastman and Ken Sagos, who plays Kincaid, Joey and Kincaid, didn't feel the heartfelt reunion because she replaced Patricia Arquette Tuesday night.
It must be difficult to... Well, no, I mean...
It's strange.
It's called acting, though, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, when you watch them back to back, it's a little... you can tell.
Considering it's a year in between, and this is no disservice to Tuesday Night, who I think does a good job.
Yeah.
But Kristen feels a lot older.
She does.
I feel like Tuesday Night looks older than Patricia Arquette did.
She definitely
considering
does.
it's 1 year. I don't know what the age
Joey and
difference
Kincaid
is.
look the exact same.
Well, they do, you know, with slightly different hairstyle for Joey. Although I'm not actually thinking that different.
Yeah, it's a little different.
Yeah, it's a little different.
He doesn't like the mullet.
I just feel like Tuesday Night comes across as an older energy than Patricia Arquette has.
It is hard to believe that it's the same character.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really hard to believe it's the same character.
To reassure Kristen that Krueger is dead, Kincaid and Joey take her to Kruger's boiler room in the dream and show her that the boiler is cold. Kincaid's dog, Jason, get it? Jason, is brought into the dream and bites Kristen's arm. The mark is there when she wakes up. And as we transition to the next scene, we're given Back to the Wall by Divinyls. This soundtrack is honestly one of my favorite soundtracks ever. Like, again, this is definitely the one I've seen the most. I watched this film to death growing up, and I played the soundtrack to death as well. Like, every song on this soundtrack is just, it goes off. It was actually nominated for a Razzie for Therapist by Vigil, and the song is really not that bad.
No. And
it's such a random song to choose from the soundtrack. I don't think it even appears in the film itself. It was just on the soundtrack album.
I was waiting for it. It's not prominent. There are a few songs that are more prominent. There's one in particular that's way more prominent.
Yeah. This brings all of the music that you get in Nightmare on Elm Street films together, I feel, the soundtrack. Because you got a bit of rock in there, you got pop music, you got rap. I feel like it's just, it's like a compilation of everything you've heard elsewhere in the franchise before and after this point.
And it's like you said, it's MTV horror.
Yeah.
These are the songs that would be playing on MTV.
Yeah.
These are teenagers. It's the John Hughes influence of it. This is a teen film with Freddy Krueger. It's not, and they all have featured teenagers, but this for me is the one that really feels like they're emphasizing that these are cool high schoolers with their problems. Alice and what's his name, Rick's father is straight out of a John Hughes film. Straight out of a John Hughes film, but also incorporating the themes of the Nightmare on Elm Street series. But he's so sort of what's the one with the dad? They parodied it in Not Another Teen Movie, where he's just is it She's All That?
It may She's All That.
No, I think there is a Molly Ringwald film, if I'm misremembering, where the dad is just made out to be like a real bum. Just like awful.
We're introduced to this character shortly, but first Kristen drives to meet up with her boyfriend, martial arts enthusiast Rick Johnson, and his shy and quiet sister Alice. And that is then when we are introduced to their alcoholic father Dennis, who greets them and asks Alice if she's really going out dressed like that.
Which she's not
wrapped up.
She's actually really dowdy, to be fair. What? Can I just go back ever so slightly? Something that did make me chuckle. Could you imagine watching this film not knowing that Kristen had been recast, like it wasn't Patricia Arquette anymore, and watching the beginning and seeing this girl, like, oh, who's this? And then randomly she has to say, "Be calm, Kristen." Just to remind us, like, oh, okay, that's who you're meant to be. Okay, we get it. But yeah, no, Alice is looking very dowdy.
Yeah.
So I don't know why
she's a daydreamer.
She is.
Her and Kristen both have something in common. They both talk like Lisa Barlow.
They do.
It's very strange. It's a strange directing choice, strange acting choice. But adds to the camp value. When they get to school, they meet up with Sheila, an asthmatic genius, and Debbie Stevens, an ambitious pub singer, athletic girl who dislikes bugs and watches too much Dynasty.
Dislikes Louis Walsh.
Yeah. So Sheila, the actress who plays Sheila, was asked by Bob Shea to dub her lines so she sounds a little more black.
That wasn't not.
Oh, Rennie Harlan. But I feel like Bob Shea backed up the decision.
I'm not one to defend Bob Shea too much, but I'm assuming he was part of the conversation in some way.
Yeah.
But it was Rennie Harlan.
But it was Bob Shea who went up to her at the premiere and said, "No, you're right, it works."
Yeah.
It's like, what? Harlan, her actual fucking voice works.
Toy Newkirk, which wasn't in much else, which is why we didn't include her. Sorry.
Yeah. But she does a really good job in this.
Yeah.
And the fact that she was asked to do that is fucking ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah. Number one, what does that even mean?
I know. Yeah.
You know, she is a black woman.
Yeah.
And she's talking.
Yeah.
So yeah, what does it mean that she doesn't sound black enough? Yeah. The 80s. Wow. Okay, let's not get into it. I'm not sure if the 80s is sufficient, to be fair.
No. Dan Johnson arrives at school, Alice's crush, and Debbie Stevens is like, we are dealing with one major league hunk. Now, throughout the films, Alice has these scenes where she's daydreaming, and again, it adds to the camp value. He walks up to her, and she's like, you know, you are one major league hunk. And then they're like, Earth to Alice, and she gets out of it. It's like, oh my god, yes, bitch.
I think it's interesting to have the daydreams. I kind of wished it might have been a bit weird, or not make too much sense, or not be difficult to pull off. But I kind of wished Freddy would have invaded her daydreams.
I feel like there is a scene where that happens. I think there is.
Is it?
I really feel like there's a scene where that happens. And if I'm wrong, then I apologise, but I'm certain we're going to come back to this.
I feel like if it did happen...
They didn't make it obvious.
They didn't make it obvious that he was invaded, because she's a daydreamer.
Yeah.
If he'd invaded her daydreams, I think that would have been a really interesting side of it.
Yeah.
I think it could have really worked.
Yeah.
But yeah, if they do, then forgive me, but I didn't notice.
One of the obnoxious...
Maybe I was daydreaming at the time.
Maybe one of the obnoxious kids at school goes to Sheila when she's taking her inhaler. Hey, babe, you're sucking on the wrong nozzle. And Debbie Stevens says, hey, you're needle dick. I bet you're the only male in this school suffering from penis envy. And this always took me, because as I was younger and I was getting to terms of horror stereotypes and everything, this always surprised me. Because when you first see Debbie Stevens, you're like, okay, she's going to be the bitch of the film. She's dressed like a punk. She's got big hair. She's going to be, you know, the bitchy one. No, she is actually really, really likable.
Well, what? So, spoiler alert, Alice gets, when her friends die, she receives some sort of powers.
I have the answer for this.
Now, hers is anger.
That's, what you're going to ask on it.
Yeah. So when Debbie Stevens dies, much later in the film, much later than anticipated, if I'm being honest, but when she dies much later in the film, Alice receives her anger, like it's a special power. So I don't know how she's meant to come across. I mean, she's defending a friend, and Sheila, you know, thanks her for it, and she owes her one.
Yeah.
But also the idea is that she's going around being aggressive all the time. I mean, she's highly strung, but people are dropping like flies around her.
And it's because she loves Dynasty as well.
She loves Dynasty.
It's causing her anger issues.
Do you know who she reminds me? And this is a reference you may not get.
Who?
Tori from Saved by the Bell.
Okay.
So in the final season of Saved by the Bell, Elizabeth Berkley and Tiffany Amber Thiessen weren't available for some extra episodes that they'd been asked to film. So this completely random character, Tori, who always wore a leather jacket and had big curly hair, she just joined the school and then pissed off after like 5 or 6 episodes. And she's giving Tori. When we get to those episodes in our Saturday morning viewing, you'll understand what I mean, definitely.
I feel like this is such a you know, perfect portrait of what people thought teenagers were like in the 80s.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, it's the aftermath of punk, but the big hair of the 80s, and it's just like, it's
the Breakfast Club, isn't it?
It is the Breakfast Club.
The jock, the misfit, the gorgeous girly girl, the geek, the this, that, and the other.
But much like Dream Warriors, it's another film where all the teens get along, which I think makes it more effective when they die. So I think it's a good choice. Kincaid and Joey confront Kristen at school about the dream. Well, I mean, they're not getting along so well with Kristen, but I don't think that's the character so much. They tell her that their days of fighting in dreams are over, and if she continues, she might accidentally bring Kruger back. And Rick shows up, and he's like, "Hey, lighten up! No one died."
It's a weird. Having Kincaid and Joey back confuses it, I feel, because Joey and Kincaid and Kristen, we were really on their side in Dream Warriors, and they survived. But in this film, they don't feel like they're friends anymore.
No.
They have no scenes, because obviously we're establishing new characters, because, spoiler alert, Joey and Kincaid are the first to go.
Yeah.
Because we have to build up these new characters, Joey and Kincaid get nothing.
Yeah.
So it just completely feels like that connection Kincaid, Joey, and Kristen had that had been built for a whole film the year previous goes completely out the window.
Yeah.
So we don't really care about Joey and Kincaid because they don't feel like part of the film anymore. They don't feel part of the season. And I'm glad they got their payday.
Yeah.
But, spoiler alert, they're quickly gotten rid of.
Yeah. Something else really strange is the scene where they're walking through school and for some reason Freddy's claw marks are in a school locker. I've never understood why this is there.
Because it looks good.
It looks good.
It looks really cool.
It looks really good in the trailer.
Yeah.
But it's like, why is it there?
Makes absolutely no sense in terms of the film, but yeah.
One of the film's best songs, Anything Anything by Dramarama, plays whilst Rick practices his martial arts and Alice does the dishes.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm not sure why this song.
I don't know what to say.
I don't know why this song, but I'm glad it's
No, it's a great song. Poor Alice. She serves her father up some dinner, doesn't she?
She does.
So she's done the washing up, but what she serves, the father's late for dinner, but then tells them that he did a 10-hour shift, so he's only a couple of hours late. But apparently they just could not wait for him to get back to have dinner. What she serves up looks like lettuce and cheese, and purely just a bowl of lettuce and cheese. And I won't defend him at any other time of the film, but her father is clearly quite upset at this shit meal that she's just served up. And I kind of understand where he's coming from, because it looks awful.
Yeah, it doesn't look great.
It's just lettuce and cheese, like really cheap orange cheese. And if it's something else, I don't know, but that's what it looks like. My other question is, why is she doing so much washing up for a bit of lettuce and cheese? There's a lot of washing up there.
Yeah.
For a little bowl of some shite. If anybody out there knows what Alice served up to her father, please let me know.
Yeah.
But I'm kind of on his side for this one.
Yeah. He is fuming. He's fuming about it. And she has a daydream, and he's like, "Oh, you should think more about these things." And she's like, "Yeah, I can think. I can think of how sick I am of watching you drink your life away and taking it out on me."
Yes.
And obviously, it's a bit of a girl boss moment. Like, yes, but it's a daydream, and yeah, she doesn't tell him about himself.
I like these moments because it really helps establish Alice as a character.
Yeah, it does.
To the detriment of other characters, Kristen, Joey, and Kincaid, but I like these moments of her daydreaming. I think it works really well for her character.
That night, Kristen stays awake to keep herself from dreaming, but Kincaid falls asleep. He awakens in a junkyard where Freddy has been accidentally resurrected when, and if you haven't seen this film, I shit you not, a dog pisses fire on his bones. During the writing of the film, Harlan and some of the producers by chance happened to bump into James Cameron. And James Cameron asked Harlan how he was going to bring Freddy back to life with this one. And he replies, a dog pisses fire on him and he comes back to life. And the idea actually is in the film.
Yeah.
Yeah. Robert Englund has tried explaining it. It's metaphorical.
The Hounds of Hell.
The dog urinating fire onto Freddy's remains is meant to symbolize a hellhound and how evil Freddy truly is. No, Robert Englund. No, I'm sorry, that's not the case.
It's okay. You don't have to explain it. Yeah.
But he's back. It looks something so stupid managed to look so incredible thanks to the amazing Screaming Mad George special effects.
Was that Screaming Mad George?
Yeah. Well, he's worked on this film, I assume.
Screaming Mad George only did the...
Oh, did he only do
Debbie
the book
Stevens?
Scene? Oh, okay, fair enough. But whoever worked on this film, they did a fantastic job. And Freddy assembling himself back together looks so good. He comes out of the pit and he's like, you shouldn't have buried me. I'm not dead.
Yeah.
Kincaid fights him, but Freddy overpowers him and kills him by stabbing him in the chest with his glove. Kincaid says, I'll see you in hell. And Freddy says, tell him Freddy sent you. 1 down, 2 to go.
We always have a moment where it's like, Kristen, Freddy's back.
Yeah.
And then it zooms out and you see all these cars in this junkyard. And it looks like the whole world is covered in these junkyard cars.
Yeah.
It looks great. And one thing that this film does really well is the visuals.
Absolutely.
The visuals are great. The ideas are really out there.
Yeah.
But they're really well done.
Yeah.
Like Gary said, the special effects, I think Martin Becker did some of the special effects, and then the art directors and such. They do a phenomenal job because there are moments in this film that look so good.
Mm-hmm.
It might not always make sense.
No.
But it's very visually stimulating.
Yeah. I mean, I said it in the last episode and I'll say it again. This is a franchise where the killer kills people in their dreams, make the most of it, make it silly, make it stupid, make it over the top. And this film does exactly that.
Mm-hmm.
Kincaid's death was actually going to be more bloodier than the final cut, with Freddy's gloves going straight through his back. But this was cut for the MPAA, which I believe may have been the only cut in the film, which is shocking, considering this is the same film as Friday's podcast episode, Friday the 13th, The New Blood, where it is the most butchered film in the Friday the 13th franchise. Amazing what you can get away with a bit of comedy.
Yes, yeah, and I think ultimately that's what makes it different, because we can laugh at incredible violence, but Lord forbid we're scared by incredible violence. Yeah.
Now this one is rated 15 in the UK.
Oh,
so this is one of the.
I feel like it wouldn't have been at the time.
Well, I'm talking about from when I had the DVD box set in the 2000s.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah. But it also has one of the grossest effects in the film later on. So, yeah, it's quite shocking. Joey falls asleep in his room whilst watching MTV, of course, and sees a model from one of his posters, who you mentioned earlier.
Yes.
Swimming.
Girl.
Yeah. Swimming in his waterbed whilst Fatal Charm by Billy Idol plays.
Another fantastic visual of the swimming in the waterbed. Looks phenomenal. I really think it looks so cool.
Yeah. Again, it's that cool MTV horror sort of style.
Oh, this could have been a dream in a John Hughes film. Or, it could have been... what's his name? John Cusack. Yeah. Imagining the girl off the poster. Mm-hmm. I feel, is there a scene in Fast Times at Ridgemont High where...
yeah, of course.
Sean Penn's character is having a daydream about a poster and there's 2 girls next to him. It's straight out of that kind of teen comedy.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, Freddy appears and pulls Joey into the waterbed and kills him after saying, "How's this for a wet dream?" Something that is said again in the remake to much less effects with a lot less personality.
Yeah.
Rodney Eastman and Ken Sagos wanted longer parts in the film and were so shocked that they were in such reduced parts. This, for me, was a big shock. It was kind of like, wow, okay, the Dream Warriors are almost all gone.
Yeah.
And then, spoiler alert, it's not long until they are all gone.
Yeah. Yeah, I never really fully understand why they do this in horror films. Because you have 3 established characters there.
Yeah.
That you can have in the film, and you don't have to develop as much as the others because you already have them developed in the other film. The audience is on their side, so you don't have to do all of the work. Now, kill off one of them to show, the audience that anything can happen in this sequel, but not all 3. Spoiler alert. All 3 straight away, and then it's like, oh well, that time could have been used to establish Debbie Stevens, or establish Alice a little more, or those characters. That time could have been spent on them. Yes, really cool death scenes, but it in terms of what makes a horror film really work in terms of creating fear, which ultimately that's why a lot of people watch horror films. It doesn't work that way, and it's a little disappointing.
I think they're going for the Janet Leigh effect.
Yes, I suppose. Yeah,
you start a film with the Dream Warriors, you think they're going to be your main characters after the last one, after they took down Freddy,
which can be effective, but only if it would have been more effective if it was just one of them. I'm thinking, and switch off now if you've not watched Scream 2. I'm thinking Randy in Scream 2. Because you already have one character, he's well established in the first film, survives. Killing him off is that Janet Leigh effect. Oh my god, anything could happen. But we still care about the other characters.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Rick and Alice have a conversation about how she needs to start standing up for herself more to their father. So he tries teaching her martial arts with a loud noise. Would you like to do noise?
Sigh.
Yes, that's the noise. And she tries it, and she kicks off her shoe.
Can't you do it?
Say!
Yours is better than mine.
She kicks off her shoe, and it lands in her fish tank, to which Rick says, "Swish, kill the fish."
Why is this scene in the film?
Because it's camp.
Swish, kill the fish is funny.
And everyone wanted to learn martial arts after the Karate Kid came out.
Of course. Oh my god, of course, Karate Kid. Oh, for God's sake.
Another MTV movie.
Absolutely.
Joey's mum finds his corpse inside his waterbed whilst complaining about him watching that trashy MTV.
Yeah, she was given what's Adrian Barbeau? I don't know why she was given it. Or like the mother from Gremlins.
Yeah, no, I get that, yeah. The next day in school, Alice and Kristen meet up, and Kristen's like, "We have matching luggage again."
That actually sounded like Lisa Barlow.
And Alice tells Kristen all about the Dream Master, a nursery rhyme that her mum taught her to protect her dreams.
Yeah, Alice needs some dry shampoo pronto. She, even more so, she's meant to be dowdy. I get it. She's meant to be introverted, dowdy. Doesn't mean she can't wash her hair.
It's true.
And in this scene, it's very greasy.
It is.
He needs some fucking dry shampoo. And do you know what? I don't know who's deaf does it, but she finds it because by the end of the film, her hair is looking a lot healthier.
Well,
I'm assuming it's. I'm assuming it's Kristen's actually, because Tuesday Night has some great hair.
She
in this
does.
Film.
She does. When they go into class, Kristen learns that Kincaid and Joey are missing, and later she finds out they're dead. She runs back into a wall and knocks herself out. And then we get Robert Englund in full drag as a nurse.
Giving Dustin Hoffman in Tootsie.
Yeah. He tends to Kristen in the nurse's room before turning into his usual self and says, I want to draw some blood.
He probably does.
Nurse Robert Englund, high camp.
He's very camp.
You know, you're going to hear us say it a lot throughout this episode, but it's just like every time you think this film can't get more camp, it proves you wrong.
And again, you can tell Robert Englund is having the time of his life. Yeah. He's loving it.
Underrated song on the soundtrack, Pride and Joy by Joe Lamont, starts playing in Crave Inn Diner. Like Craven.
Like Craven.
Dan speaks to Alice, and Debbie then serves Dan. Yeah, she does. And tells Sheila she needs to get more dick. To which Sheila says, Deb, later in life, you're going to appreciate my motto. Mind over matter. Don't know how that works in this situation, but...
Because she's intelligent.
Well, she is.
Brains over brawn.
You can have brains and get some dick.
Work smarter, not harder.
Yeah. Also, she needed to have a catchphrase so that Alice can say it a little later on.
Yes. Yeah. Can we talk about Alice having to work at the Crave Inn?
Yeah.
Because where the fuck does Rick work?
I know, yeah, he doesn't do anything.
He's doing
practicing
martial arts. Alice is cooking dinner. She's being berated for her shit cheese salad.
Uh-huh.
And she's having to pull a shift at the Crave Inn.
Yeah.
The fuck is he doing? No wonder she's, ain't got the time to wash her hair.
No.
She's working fucking hard for those two. And then Rick's got the cheek to, hate the dad as much as Alice.
Yeah.
Like, oh, Alice, it'll be all right. No, it won't. Because you're a lazy prick as well.
Yeah. Single daughter who works 2 jobs. Alice tells Rick, Alice, and Dan about Freddy and vows to avenge Kincaid and Joey. So they go to Nancy's old house,
which they call Freddy's house.
Yeah. Which begs the question: Did Donald and Marge Thompson burn Freddy alive, kill him, and then move into his house? If so, that's very cheeky.
No, I think Rennie Harlin didn't watch the first 3 films thoroughly enough. I feel like this is an on-set, just say whatever sort of situation. Oh, we want to get it at the old house. That probably wasn't even in the screenplay.
I know, yeah. Why wasn't it Jesse's house?
Jesse's house. Because the moment that claw went through that girl in Freddy's Revenge was completely forgotten about.
Yes.
I said, nope.
Kristen says, it's not just a house, it's his home. Kristen's mother shows up, that icon. She's back with a fuck-ass bob and her iconic catchphrase. So, Kristen, get away from that house. Andale, andale. She was literally just brought back so she could say that.
She was. And show off her new hair, because her hair looks really good.
Not a fuck-ass bob?
No, okay. I like it.
Okay.
The 80s were a different time.
That's true.
You can't judge everything by today's standards.
Kristen realises that her mother, when they go home, has put sleeping pills in her dinner, but falls asleep as she tries to run out of the dining room. And she says, it's his fucking banquet and I'm the last course. And her mum's like, Kristen, we went over this at therapy. She's like, no, mother, you just murdered me. Take that to your goddamn therapy. You fucked the whole of New York. You're a fucking garbage trash whore.
She spiked my Vida tequila. I'm the queen of Sundance Film Festival. I did think it was interesting when Kristen says, sorry, Sorry, I don't know what accent I'm giving her.
Sorry.
So, excuse me.
I'm so sorry.
I'm sorry. No, that's not on. She says that. I don't know what accent I'm going for. She says that her mother. So, sorry that you and your tennis pals torched this guy and now he's after me. In case you haven't been keeping score, it's his fucking banquet. I did like that.
Can you imagine Kristen's mother and Ronnie Blakely playing tennis together?
Yes, that's what I like the idea of. Ronnie Blakely, Brooke Bundy playing a round of tennis and going to torture some Freddy Krueger. But again, this is the theme of A Nightmare on Elm Street. Yeah. This is all the films.
Like her daughter literally went through all what she went through in Dream Warriors.
She doesn't believe her anymore. Still doesn't believe her after everything that happened.
Yeah.
She's not there. She's not an active participant in Kristen's life. Even after everything that happened, she thinks she knows best. She thought she knew best back when they torched Freddy Krueger, and see how that's worked out.
Yeah.
You know, it's Alice and Rick's father not being there, him being so dependent on Alice and Rick. The mother that has died, which, spoiler alert, ultimately her little dream master, Ditty, helped save the day.
Yeah.
But it's about absent parents. Yeah. That's what A Nightmare on Elm Street is about. And it's also why these kind of films are very 80s. Because it's a huge film it's a huge theme in teen films throughout the 80s.
Yeah.
You don't see any in stuff like Breakfast Club, Fast Times at Ridgemont High, all these things that are going on without any adult supervision whatsoever. The adults are very much sidelined.
Yeah.
And in terms of slasher films, and particularly Nightmare on Elm Street, the consequences of these adults being sidelining themselves, leads to the teenagers' deaths.
Yeah. Yeah, and I suppose having that sort of, relatability to younger audiences also helps sell that merchandise as well.
Absolutely. But,
But no, it's a very interesting theme, and it's interesting to see it taken from comedies and dramas in the 80s and put into a horror film, because horror it has such a great way of dealing with allegories and metaphors and so on. And this is no exception. It deals with it really well. All of these films do.
Yeah, it's the decade of Dare.
Yeah.
Drug culture, the decade of the AIDS pandemic really starting.
Yeah.
It's the decade of it's 10 o'clock. Do you know where your children are? And it's perfectly encapsulates that.
Yeah.
I feel. And it's why A Nightmare on Elm Street is my favourite franchise.
Yeah.
Because I think there are so many layers to it. And a really interesting look at the 80s.
Yeah.
And it's also a reason why the remake didn't quite work.
Yeah. All the kids were already depressed in the remake as well.
Should I say it's another reason why the remake didn't quite... Yeah. There are many reasons why that
But
film
also,
didn't work.
despite all those themes and everything, this is still a franchise you can just watch and have fun with as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Kristen starts to dream and she asks Alice to help her, so she ends up on a beach where Freddy's glove appears like a shark from the water and onto the sand, which makes a sandcastle explode, and he appears in its place. Now, Freddy puts on a pair of sunglasses.
Yes.
Originally, in its theatrical print, a bit of Hawaii Five-O's theme played over this.
Good gracious.
It's no longer on in the film, unfortunately. I mean, I'd love to see that. But this is like peak comedy Freddy Krueger. Comedian Freddy Krueger at his best.
This is really the lasting image of Freddy Krueger from this film. Yeah. This was the one that I knew.
It really sums it up where they went with him.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure that I'm aging myself a lot here. When I used to religiously read online, why would you visit I suppose you would say, the Arrow in the Head
Yeah.
website. And this was the image that I always remembered from the Dream Master review.
Mm-hmm.
And I hadn't seen it, but I was like, oh, why is he out in the day like that with sunglasses on? Like, what's that about?
Yeah. I tell you what I used to have, which had this image on, was the Nightmare on Elm Street trading cards from around this era.
Wow.
Which you used to get on swag books.
No. What's swag books?
It was a search engine, and the more you searched on there, you got points for it, and they'd send you like, bits of memorabilia and stuff. And yeah, I don't think it's a thing anymore. Like,
so what did you search?
I
just
just
anything,
random shit to get points, and I would have these Nightmare on Elm Street trading cards.
But you could search anything, like
no, it doesn't. It just
Queen
it's
Elizabeth
like Google. You just search anything at all. And you get points.
But as long as you use swag books to do it. Oh, okay.
Freddy puts these sunglasses on and he overcomes Kristen's attempt to repel him and forces her back to his home, Nancy's home. Since Kristen is the last of the Elm Street children still alive, Freddy goads Kristen into summoning one of her friends into the dream so that his fun can begin anew.
Ooh.
And he says to Kristen, Elm Street's last brat, farewell. And he says, why don't you reach out and touch someone? MTV.
Yes. What do you reach? Yes. I just feel like that should have been said in a Mae West. Oh, why don't you reach out and touch someone? Oh.
She calls Alice into her dream.
Alice.
And he says, how sweet, fresh meat.
Another iconic line.
And Freddy fucking just tosses Kristen into his boiler. Throws her in. Before she dies, Kristen gives Alice her dream power. Alice wakes up with a postcard of Kristen and Alice that says greetings from Hal. And I remember when I first watched this, I thought this was the funniest fucking thing I'd ever seen.
It is.
I laughed at this for far too long when I first watched it. It's just so ridiculous.
It is. It's probably the death that I have the biggest issue with in the film. It's Kristen's.
Yeah.
Because Kristen in Dream Warrior was a fighter.
Yeah.
She had her dream power.
Mm-hmm.
She, was a strong character. And I just don't feel she was as strong in this film.
No.
She comes across more world-weary rather than, fierce and strong gymnastics in her dreams.
Yeah, where's the flips and tricks?
Where are those? It's only been a year. I just feel like the character feels so different.
Yeah.
And then it's just like, she's killed. Like,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, when Alice wakes up, she senses that something's wrong and takes Rick to Kristen's house. And when they arrive, they see that Kristen's bedroom is on fire with her in it. We see that Kristen is buried in front of the Thompsons.
Yes. It wasn't Kincaid in there buried there as well. Do you know who wasn't buried there? Marge Thompson.
Yeah.
Fuck Ronnie Blakely's drag.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't she be buried? She was the first one to go.
Screen. It might be slightly off screen.
Oh, maybe. But Kristen fucking stole her thunder anyway, dying in the same way, burning in bed.
Yeah. And
then she doesn't even get her grave on camera.
Yeah, they probably just replaced her grave with Kristen's. Like, we can't have two people who died burning in bed here, so...
Or maybe Marge survived. She went into hiding.
Wow. And
we're going to get a recall soon.
I'm hoping that's what they're going to do with Nancy, more than anything else.
Oh, God. No.
Rick and Alice watch...
What, her go into hiding?
Yeah.
And
I mean, what does it matter? He attacks you in your dreams.
And her mother doesn't know where she's been all that time.
Wow, let's not go there. Rick and Alice watch home videos of them, Kristen and their friends as well. And
this is absolutely giving Laura Palmer.
It is.
Twin Peaks.
It looks just like it.
It really does.
Alice tries talking to Rick about Freddy, but he doesn't want to hear any of it. So she goes to school and she bumps into Sheila in the school bathroom and she's like, we have matching luggage. And she starts...
Stayed up all night drinking Vida tequila.
She starts acting so much like Kristen to the point she starts smoking and stops. And she's like, I don't smoke.
I don't smoke.
And we go to the classroom. And what does the teacher say?
What does Bob Shay say?
Not Bob Shay.
Oh, is this not Bob Shay?
It's a different class. It's an exam. And the teacher says, you got 40 minutes, so good luck and go for it.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I'm getting my teachers confused. Oh, yeah. You got 40 minutes, so go for it.
Good luck and go for it. That's how it works.
That is how it works. Do you know what? I said it at the time and I stick by it. I'm going to get that tattooed on me.
Alice falls asleep.
Go for it.
Alice falls asleep during class and inadvertently brings Sheila into her dream.
Now, the assumption is that Sheila has also fallen asleep during class. Because this is where I get a little confused. Is the idea is, does she bring anyone into her dream or do they both have to be asleep?
It is strange, isn't it? Yeah, I don't know how that works.
Because I don't feel like Sheila as a character would have fallen asleep during a big exam.
But when Freddy Krueger's around, teens do start falling asleep a lot easier.
Yes.
So... And also, we did already have the bit of dialogue about their matching luggage, so she was already tired from being up all night to rehearse for the exam.
To revise before the exam. But that also makes me think that she definitely wouldn't have fallen asleep during a very important exam.
Well, she does, and it leads to an iconic scene.
Yes.
Sheila is locked into her desk. A robot hand grabs her face for some reason.
Yeah, Robot Freddy.
And Freddy appears in the classroom. He cuts an apple with his glove and walks over to Sheila. He says, "Want to suck, face?" And she's like, "No." He forces a kiss on her and sucks the life out of her, literally, killing her and making it look like an asthma attack. It's iconic.
It is.
He literally sucks the life out of her.
Yeah. And the effect, again, really good with her skin. Well, basically just skin, isn't it?
Yeah.
It looks great. Yeah?
Yeah.
It is.
And she's gone too soon.
So is her, because it becomes the thing where people's deaths are linked to their behavior. So do you think that this is because she put school over relationships?
I think it's more to do with her asthma, because he uses his lungs to suck the life out of her.
Yeah, I was just thinking the kiss, want to suck face.
Yeah.
The idea is that she's not like other teenage girls. She doesn't think about boys. She thinks about school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Could be that as well.
Could be.
Rick starts to believe Alice, leading to them both doing a melodramatic
run. It's about fucking time.
Leading to them both doing a melodramatic run in the school hallway.
Oh my god.
It's like Scary Movie when Anna Faris does the run down the hallway. It looks exactly like that. And then, after Alice has done that, Rick's run is even weirder.
It is weird. It's so weird.
He looks like he's about to take off like a fucking airplane.
And he's got one of those. He's got that. Oh god, I think it's John Cusack again. That big coat.
Christian Slater.
Oh, Christian Slater in Heathers. Yes.
Yeah. Oh, he in this film he is trying his best. Same year, I think he was trying his best to be Christian Slater in Heathers.
I don't feel like that's deliberate. I think I'm now feeling that maybe that's just what guys look like back then. Because I don't think that would have been deliberate.
Maybe, I mean, popular film, I'm sure.
Yeah, but it would have been made...
Same year.
Yeah.
Dan visits Alice while she's cleaning up in the diner and listening to In the Flesh by Blondie. Just when the soundtrack couldn't get any better.
I know.
Debbie Harry shows up. Debbie and the gang. And Alice explains that she hasn't been sleeping, and before they can finish their conversation, Dan's date shows up and tells them to hurry up so they're not late for the drive-in.
Yeah, Alice is pulling a double shift.
She is.
Which I think is illegal, but... Anyway.
Yeah. The following day, Bob Shay gets his big moment, and he teaches history class, which sends Alice to sleep. And it's hardly surprising, because he is just talking shit.
He is.
Bob Shea loves inserting himself into these films, and he's always the ones where he thinks it's a sure thing that it's going to do well, because the first one, no one knew it was going to be a big success. No one knew Dream Warriors was going to be a big success because of the critical failure of 2. And he isn't in those ones, conveniently. No. But the ones where he's like, I'm going to get a fucking shit ton of money, I'm going to get my face in this film.
If he can get it to work, I suppose, it's just a I just, personally, I don't think anybody pops when Bob Shea comes on the screen. I just don't see anybody in 1988 really knowing Bob Shea enough to warrant it being a big surprise. Like, oh my god, it's Bob Shea.
Yeah, he absolutely thinks otherwise, though. He thinks...
Do you think that he thinks...
He takes himself so seriously, and he thinks when people are watching the film, like, oh my god, it's him! It's Bob Shea, oh my god! No one gives a shit. It's like, imagine if Jason Blum put himself in all the fucking Blumhouse films.
But I feel like that would work now because of the internet, and people know who Jason Blum is, and they know what he looks like.
That's true.
I just don't.
But also, I feel like his acting would be the exact same as fucking Bob Shea.
Absolutely. But I just don't feel like anyone in 1985 for Freddy's Revenge or 1988 would know what Bob Shea looked like. So he just kind of wanted. I've seen in interviews people talk about Bob Shea as if he wished he could have been an actor.
Yeah. So
he kind of wants to be in these parts. So he wants to be the actor or do the acting that he never quite could do. Because number one, he's not particularly good in these roles.
Yeah.
Oh god, he's in New Nightmare as well.
He is in New Nightmare. That's different because he has to play himself.
Wow.
Yeah.
I feel like he played himself in Freddy's Revenge. Could you imagine?
In a bizarre series of events, Rick is having a shit at school and has a dream where a bunch of girls rush into his cubicle. Kristen arrives and she's like, make me laugh. And an invisible Freddy attacks him in a martial arts dojo. Rick fights him and manages to knock his bladed glove off. However, the glove levitates and stabs him, killing him. A death that was originally supposed to happen in the elevator that he ends up in, with the elevator falling apart all around him until he is falling in just a dark space. However, according to Harlan, they had already run out of money and were unable to afford this effect, though other sources say it's because the script was still in flux at the time of shooting. It was then suggested that he live, but his funeral scene had already been filmed, so this happened.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, it's shit. It really is. It is probably the worst part of the film.
Yeah,
is Rick's death because it looks stupid.
It does.
The set looks really cheap.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just not good. It's not cool to have a death scene without seeing Freddy.
Yeah.
Is shit. I mean, that's what puts butts in seats, honey.
Yeah,
Freddy
I mean, imagine
Krueger.
if
He's
Freddy...
on the fucking poster.
Yeah, imagine if he was there doing martial arts.
Yeah.
You know, that is what I want to see.
That would have been silly and campy. And yeah, Robert Englund is accomplished enough to be able to convey stuff with just his voice, but it just doesn't work.
Yeah,
it just
it's a strange one.
It is. I understand, budget constraints. Just cut the whole thing.
Yeah.
Really.
Alice wakes up from this nightmare and screams whilst making all the classroom windows explode.
Ah.
Never brought up again.
Never. Oh, did you also notice that Bob Shea was talking about the Dream Master?
He was.
So he kind of saves the day as well.
Yeah.
Really, by teaching about the Dream Master. I don't know why they're teaching that stuff in school. But,
This is when we notice that with each death, Alice changes. She gains the abilities and personalities of her dead friends. At Rick's funeral, this is what I was talking about earlier.
Yeah.
So this isn't technically Freddy, but it's something close to those lines. She daydreams that Rick gets out of his coffin. And he does his hello, baby think, which, do you know what that's from?
No.
Because Mika does it in Paranormal Activity as well. And I'd like to think it's a reference to this.
I don't think it is.
But I feel like it's like a random American game show, talk show, something along those lines.
Oh, like here's Johnny.
Yeah, I feel like it's something like that. But he does it twice in the film, so I feel like it's something that everyone would have known. At the time.
I'm not. No, it's nothing I'm familiar with.
Yeah, well, until I'm proven otherwise, then Paranormal Activity references Nightmare on Elm Street 4.
And I'm living for that. That's perfectly fine.
He tells her it's all a big joke to fool Freddy, and he's still alive. And she says, no more daydreams. So he gets back in his coffin and says goodnight. So that's close.
That is close. I would have loved if he turned into Freddy.
Yeah.
That would have been really cool.
Which is kind of done in New Nightmare.
Yes.
Isn't it? Really, when you think about it. I think that's kind of like a sister scene to this scene.
Okay.
Do you know what scene I'm on about?
Yeah.
Yeah. But more on that at the end of the month. Yeah. Debbie Stevens says, I don't spend working hours, and I don't spend hours working out to let some night stalker beat me. And she gives Alice her wristband with spikes on it.
Oh, yeah.
Says, here, take this. It gives bad luck to the creep you flatten with it.
Yeah.
Does it?
I don't know. I would like to have maybe seen Debbie flatten a creep.
Yeah.
I think that would have been...
Technically, she flattens a bug. I feel like that's...
Oh, yeah. Did we mention that?
Yeah, she...
It's actually quite important.
Yeah, when she's introduced, I did say she dislikes
yes.
bugs.
So let's go back a little bit, because this is also... Number one, so this is the beginning of the film, when we first meet Debbie. She pulls out what I thought was like a pork scratch. I don't know what she's eating. Doesn't look very healthy. And there's a cockroach on it.
Yeah.
And she drops it, stamps on it, squishes it, and that's it.
Yeah.
So, oh, bugs. Why was not more said about the fact that she found a cockroach in her food? Like, where did this cockroach come from?
Where is she buying her snacks from?
Where is she buying her snacks from? Like, that's not... Like, if she'd just seen it on, like... I don't know, the side of the road,
I could
like
bet
a
any
wall
money,
or something.
I bet any money there was a news article around that time where someone found something like that in their food, and that's what it's a reference to.
Do you know what? I think people find cockroaches in their food all the time.
Someone found a rat in a Mars bar in the UK.
Oh,
do you remember that?
No.
There was a big thing about it in the news.
Do you know what? The rumour always was back in the day. Probably shouldn't say this. And I was far too young to be talking like this. But at school and everything, the rumour was that somebody in Coventry who worked at a McDonald's had given themselves a treat in the McDonald's special Big Mac sauce, and loads of people got herpes because this person had given themselves a treat in the sauce.
Do you think the person knew they had an STI? Did they do it on purpose?
It's clearly...
I mean, if they did, that's fucking evil. That's really evil.
It was it's not true. Kids are stupid. It's definitely not. It's not a true story. But the shit that people come up with when they're kids.
I mean, it's Coventry, so I wouldn't be surprised.
Well, I'm sure there's these sort of urban legends everywhere, like these modern urban legends everywhere about somebody doing something to the McDonald's. I mean, the one that was true was Burger King foot lettuce.
Wow.
Do you remember that one?
And even that's sort of a debate. Who knows?
That was real.
Yeah, so Alice says, this is it. Mind over matter. And Debbie Stevens like, mind over matter? Sheila used to say that. She makes plans with Debbie Stevens and Dan to fight and kill Krueger together. Alice then goes home, pulls out some nunchucks and starts using them like an expert whilst Anything by Dramarama plays. What is this? The martial arts song?
This is the martial arts song. Can we just give a little credit to the bad wig that Alice's stunt double absolutely slays with nunchucks in her bedroom with that wig. It's high camp.
Why isn't that Lisa Wilcox?
Because that is not Lisa Wilcox's hair. That is a bad wig.
That's true.
It doesn't need dry shampoo. It needs CPR.
Alice attempts to leave.
I'm so judgmental, Anna.
You are
terrible.
Alice...
It's a bad wig. Okay? I'm allowed to call it a bad wig. It's the Horror Cool Trash Over podcast.
Yeah. Alice attempts to leave, but when her father keeps her in, she falls asleep. Dan waits outside Crave Inn for Alice, and Debbie Stevens starts working out to I Want Your Hands on Me by Sinead O'Connor.
Yes. I don't know the words to describe how much this song goes off.
Yeah.
I love it. Had no idea when I first watched this film it was Sinead O'Connor.
No.
I didn't realise Sinead O'Connor did like poppy tunes to begin with. But so good. This feels like it's a remixed version, isn't it? It's got like a rap verse in it as well. Spoiler alert, it appears again at the end of the film. But this song goes off. It's a top tier banger. I love it.
And it's a great pun, considering what happens.
Yeah, that's true.
Because she's, lifting weights, but we'll get to what happens fully in a second.
Mm-hmm.
Alice goes outside and heads to a screening of Reefer Madness on her own.
Nice.
A post-apocalyptic looking Crave Inn diner appears on the screen, and her popcorn and drinks start flying into the screen many years before Last Action Hero.
What a great visual.
Yeah.
Really well done.
And this is the time travel thing I was on about. She flies into the screen herself.
Yeah.
Looks back at the cinema. All of her dead friends are there applauding her. And when she goes into the diner, it's in the future. And she finds an older version of herself working there. And, she's like, oh, I'm not going to be working here forever. And it's kind of like, oh, okay. This is really going deep on Alice's character and how she's trapped in this lifestyle she's living in.
Yeah, like her family, her father and Rick have trapped her in this sort of cycle. I think it was really interesting. And again, I kind of wish we would have looked at that side of Alice a lot more in the film. That I feel like I might get some backlash for this, but I feel like it was all kind of a little Lynchian, really. Very surreal.
Yeah, well, we all know he took the Twin Peaks home video thing.
Yeah.
We all know he took that, so he probably went with the rest of it as well. I mean...
But her seeing her friends and her being, all that business. Obviously, it's filtered through a 80s teen slasher film.
Yeah.
But there are some real surreal moments in the whole film that I don't think would be too out of place in a David Lynch film.
No.
Don't come for me.
Freddy sits next to her and says, if the food don't kill you, the service will. They're given a pizza with the heads of Freddy's victims on there. Again, a really amazing practical effect. If it was these days, this would probably be CGI. But, oh my god. It looks so good. And they're all screaming. He puts his knife into Rick's head. He's like, Rick, you little meatball. And he eats it. He eats Rick's head. He's like, oh, I love soul food.
Yeah.
And at this point, if you're playing the Freddy Krueger quips drinking game, you fucking pass out.
It's that TikTok that I'm obsessed with, where the young lady, she reacts to really fun quotes that people make.
Yeah.
And she gets a little notebook and she writes them down. I feel like she could do this with the whole of the franchise, Nightmare on Elm Street franchise. It's a particularly good
Definitely this one. Freddy shows Alice that he's going after Debbie Stevens next, so she wakes up, meets with Dan, and they head towards her, but soon realise they're in a time loop.
Yeah, I love this. I love it. It's so clever and kind of unexpected. That whole Groundhog Day repeating itself.
Yeah.
that's how they get stuck and they can't help Debbie.
Yeah.
Yeah, really well done.
Yeah, and whilst they're in this time loop, Freddy stalks Debbie, and he puts his hands on her weights, like the song suggests.
Yes.
And he pushes them down, and I remember this really disturbed me when I first watched it, and it looks disgusting.
It does.
Her elbows split in half. And this is the bit where I'm like, oh my god, this got a 15 in the UK. She then transforms into a cockroach. This is a product of The Fly, absolutely.
Yeah.
And this is the Screaming Mad George special effects.
Yes.
And it's just fucking gross.
It's the way the skin of the arms just flop on the ground.
Yeah.
And you have Debbie Stevens running around with these bug arms.
Yeah.
And it's exquisitely done.
Yeah.
The special effects are phenomenal. They look so good.
Yeah.
It's so grotesque. And I think it's a 15 because it's so over the top.
Yeah.
It's camp. Really.
It is.
It's disgusting. But it's so sort of over the top. Like, yeah, there's no other word to describe it. I mean, that's it. Ridiculous, almost, but in such a good way. And
she turns to Freddy, she's like, do you know what? You're the one person I didn't want to see sex. Now I really want to slap you.
She's got no arms. She can't.
Freddy crushes her in a roach motel.
Yes.
And
what is a roach motel?
I have no idea.
Thing?
I have no idea. There's a little cardboard box in there with Debbie Stevens in it.
Yes, and another cockroach as well. There's a big squelchy squirt come out of it. Just really, it's my favorite death.
Yeah, definitely.
And I mean the whole thing from the moment Sinead O'Connor starts to the moment that the cockroach motel is squished. I think it's so good. Really,
it
just
is
top notch. I mean, it's not scary in the least, but it's that camp horror that I love. This is why I watch horror films. Yeah. Because it's ridiculous, but really so entertaining.
Yeah,
love it.
And he finished it with a pun, of course.
Yes.
He says, you can check in, but you can't check out. The time loop breaks when Debbie Stevens dies, and using Debbie's temper, she throws a glass of water in Freddy's face.
Dickhead.
Not quite. Alice tries to ram Freddy with the truck, but collides with a tree, in reality, injuring Dan.
Another great visual as well.
Yeah.
The invisible tree.
Yeah.
Yeah. Looks really great.
Again, something that the remake tried to recreate. The remake took a fair bit from this film, actually. As Dan is rushed into surgery, Alice returns home and readies herself to join him and face Freddy. We get a super 80s montage of her dressing up like Kristen, Rick, Sheila, and Debbie.
Yeah.
Whilst the score features some 80s synth and hair metal sounding guitar. And when she finishes, she turns to the camera and she's like, fucking A.
Yeah.
It is, oh my god, it is just so ridiculous.
Yeah.
But I'm here for it. Dan is put to sleep and Freddy appears dressed as a doctor. And Dan's like, Kruger. And he's like, well, it ain't Dr. Seuss. And then Alice...
They can't all be winners.
No. Alice is like, get away from him, you son of a bitch. And this is absolutely a reference to Aliens.
Oh, of course, yes.
In the dream, Alice rescues Dan and the two find themselves in an old church where Dan gets injured in his dream and this prompts the surgeons to wake him up. So Alice has to face Freddy alone.
Go on, Alice.
Whilst the Jump Rope Girls are in church giving a performance. Freddy and...
They're doing justice for their sister in church.
Freddy says, welcome to Wonderland, Alice. Again, a great thing for the trailer. Freddy has the upper hand due to his experience, but she uses her friend's dream powers against him and kicks the shit out of him.
Yeah, she does. It's a great thing for the trailer, Welcome to Wonderland, Alice. But if you're expecting Kristen's story to continue in the trailer, it might be a little confusing.
That's true.
Who the fuck is Alice?
That's true.
Alice weren't into, this was Kristen's story.
Freddy says, you think you got what it takes? I've been guarding my gate for a long time, bitch.
He does love using the word bitch a lot in this franchise.
Imagine if he said it when he was in drag. So he could have been speaking like a drag queen whilst in drag.
Yes. And she is a bitch, being in total control of herself.
Yeah. When he's about to win and says, I am eternal, Alice says, I am Iron Man, clicks her fingers.
Dickhead. Oh, that's a nerdy reference. Oh my god.
Wow. Tell me you didn't think of that when he said it.
I certainly did not.
Did you not?
I did not. I'm sorry.
Alice remembers a nursery rhyme, the famous Dream Master nursery rhyme, thanks to her mum and Bob Shay.
And Bob Shay.
And she recites
and the girls. This is the remix for the Jump Rope Girls.
She recites it and forces Freddy to face his own reflection. Kills all of us. Happens to the best of us. Which causes the souls within him to revolt in his chest, including Linnea Quigley pushing those tits out. And girl, you fucking work it.
I love Linnea Quigley. I really do.
Such a random role for her.
So random. I hope she was well paid because I love her to bits. She's a scream queen.
Yeah. And
I kind of wish when I knew Linnea Quigley was in this film way after I first watched it, I was like, oh, who was she? I was like, oh my god,
was she Dennis Stevens?
Yeah, and I was like, oh my god, who's she? It looks nothing like her. And then realized she was just kind of randomly in the giant Freddy Krueger body, which behind the scenes looks like a health and safety nightmare.
Yeah. The strain tears Freddy apart, and Alice says, "Rest in hell." Alice's friends' souls are released and leave Freddy as a hollow husk.
Were you trying to sound like Lisa Ball?
Yeah.
Rest in.
Months later, Dan and Alice are on a date. She's got her Major League hunk.
She has. What happened to the other girl?
Which other girl?
The one at the Crave Inn.
Oh, yeah, the one that wanted to go to the drive-in with him. Yeah.
Just her drag.
Yeah. Well, she isn't kicking the shit out of Freddy Krueger in dreams, is she?
It's true.
Yeah, Dan tosses a coin into the fountain, and for a moment, Alice sees Freddy's reflection in the water, but she ignores it. And Dan asks her what she wished for, but she doesn't tell him, and they start walking away from the fountain as "I Want Your Hands on Me" starts playing again.
Yes.
Followed in the end credits by "Are You Ready for Freddy" by the Fat Boys.
Yes.
And that's A Nightmare on Elm Street 4, The Dream Master.
That is A Nightmare on Elm Street 4, The Dream Master. This is a film where a group of people have gotten together and they're not exactly on the same page.
No.
And they throw out a lot of ideas.
Mm-hmm.
And fortunately, a lot of these ideas stick.
Yeah.
And they work.
Yeah.
And it shouldn't work.
Mm-hmm.
It shouldn't work, but it does. And it's so ridiculous and yet so entertaining that I can't help but love this film. And the Nightmare on Elm Street sequels have their critics who say that Freddy Krueger became a comedy character.
Yeah.
And the horror was gone, and perfectly valid. Yeah. Because this film, in many ways, is a comedy. It's a teen comedy with horror aspects. Yeah. But I fucking love it. Yeah. That's what I like. It's so stupid at times. I mean, the dog pissing. Yeah. You know, all that. But so wonderfully visually stimulating. Yeah. The effects are top notch. So much of the film, I can't think of a bad one. No. There were iffy moments. Okay, it doesn't all work, but overall, I had a fantastic. I have a fantastic time every time I watch this film.
No, absolutely. This is the one, like I said, I'll come back to the most, and for me, this is an odd comfort film. You know, just that amount of camp value in a film. It's like listening to a pop song on repeat. You know, it's really, really just camp genius, and I love it. Shall we hand out some awards? So first up we have Biggest Queen. Might surprise you, my one.
Okay.
But I've gone for the X Factor sensation in South, Debbie Stevens.
Ooh.
Just because she went against type and has always stood out to me in this film. I just think she is a bit of a queen.
Yeah, there's a few queens in this film. I think Kristen.
Yeah.
You know, Debbie Stevens. I'm going to go with fully evolved Alice.
Yeah.
Because she has all the, you know, great stuff from all of her friends that have died. Their special powers.
The biggest gasp, I have the Dream Warriors being killed so early into the film.
I agree, actually, particularly Kristen. That was quite the gasp. I'd also go with the cockroach sequence as well.
Yeah.
It really stuck with me afterwards.
Best dialogue, I have, you know, you're one major league hunk. Just because of the delivery and how camp it is.
Yeah, it's great dialogue. I went with swish, killed a fish.
Yeah.
Or sight.
That's camp. I have Alice taking on the personalities of all of her dead friends.
I went with Badwig Alice with the nunchucks.
Ratings.
Are nunchucks still banned in the UK?
That sequence was cut from the UK release originally.
There was a huge...
Yeah.
At that time, the UK had a massive issue with nunchucks.
Yeah.
I can't even think of... I don't think I was born when this film was released in the UK. Or it's the year I was born. Thank you. But I may not have been born. If it was released in any time before July, I wouldn't have been born. Thank you. But I don't know if there was an incident,
Maybe.
a specific incident, but it's why the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles were called Teenage Mutant Hero Turtles here in the UK. But yeah, the powers that be here in Great Britain had a terrible issue with the idea of ninjas and nunchucks.
Yeah.
All of that. Yeah. Wow.
Ratings, I give it 8 major league hunks out of 10.
I give it 8 cans of dry shampoo out of 10.
And masterpiece, trash to piece, trash, basic, or a camp or bunch of fun. It is a camp or bunch of fun.
It's a camp or bunch of fun, definitely.
It's available on DVD, Blu-ray, and video on demand. And if you enjoyed this, I recommend checking out Friday the 13th, Part 6, Jason Lives, because it's the exact same tone.
Absolutely. Another film I think had a similar tone, Sleepaway Camp 2.
Yes, definitely. If you are a fan of this film, talk to us about it on social media. We are Horror Cult Trash over on Facebook and Instagram, Horror Cult Trash on Twitter. We're on TikTok as well. I am Dead at Gaz92 on Letterboxd, Gazmo205 on Instagram, GazCruise92 on Twitter.
I'm Chris Barker823 on Letterboxd and Instagram.
And we're also at Gasp Horror Fest across all social media. Go check it out, see what it's all about. If you enjoyed this episode, give us a rate, review, and subscribe on iTunes, like and follow on everything else. And next week, well, first of all, Friday.
Yes.
Friday, we're taking a break from Freddy and going to Jason.
Yeah.
Friday the 13th, Part 7, The New Blood from 1988 also.
Ooh. Jason meets Carrie.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sort of.
Kind of.
And next week, we'll be back with the continuation of Alice's story, Alice and Dan and her father, in Nightmare on Elm Street Part 5, The Dream Child.
Yes.
Which I like. Rough, but not as good as this, but I like it.
Yeah,
let's see
I'm sure we'll have a lot to talk about.
Let's see how it holds up after analysing it.
Yes, definitely.
We'll be back same time, same place on Friday.
Bye.